Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto was in Sword Art Online, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
October 25, 2024. Floor 22. Kirito and Asuna's house. After Kirito and Asuna had married, they moved to the house near Naruto and Lisbeth's house. Asuna ran out to the balcony and began to breathe in the fresh air and smiled. "What a great view," said Asuna, smiling brightly and looked at the view. Kirito smiled softly from behind, then came near her and said, "Don't get too close to the edge or you'll fall." Suddenly, they heard a knock at the door. Kirito turned to the door and said, "Come in." The person walked in and revealed to be Lisbeth, with Naruto stood not far behind. "Yo, good morning to our new neighbors," said Liz, and smirking. Asuna, seeing Liz, immediately hugs her. "Liz, you decide to visit us," said Asuna, excited. Then she drags Liz outside to speak to her. Kirito approaches Naruto and asks, "Hello, Naruto. Where did you go after? You know." "I decided to train a little, so I went to the dungeon," answered Naruto. "Thank you for borrowing us money to buy this house," said Kirito and bows to Naruto. Naruto just slaps him on the shoulder and says grinningly, "It's no problem. We are friends after all." Suddenly, Naruto looked at the sky solemnly and said, "Hey, Kirito. If I were to disappear, will anybody miss me? Will anybody remember such a murder like me?" Kirito just looked at Naruto strangely. Naruto then shook his head and turned to Kirito and said, "It's nothing. Just forget it. I congratulate on your marriage." "Yeah, thank you." Outside, Lisbeth and Asuna talked for a while, laughed and shared the story with each other. Then Lisbeth began to fall deep in thought. Asuna, seeing that, decided to ask, "What are you thinking about?" Liz turns her head to Asuna, then looks ahead and answers, "It's Naruto-kun. After yesterday, he began to behave strangely. Like he is preparing to leave somewhere far. Somewhere that we can't reach him. I scared, Asuna. I know that deep in his heart Naruto-kun is still feeling guilty for killing those PK players. But Naruto-kun is very stubborn, he will never admit it to anyone and just shoulder it alone. I don't know what to do to help him, Asuna. And that's just make me feel more horrible." Asuna just looked at Lisbeth in sympathy, as she couldn't understand Liz's feelings, because she and Kirito were never need to face any burden. "I don't know what to say to help you, as I was never in this situation before. But I think you can just support him in any way you can. Naruto loves you, I know that for sure. But he also likes to act like a hero and shoulder all the burdens alone. Naruto had saved Kirito-kun's life. I am forever grateful to him. No matter what the other says about him, me and Kirito-kun will remain as his friends forever." Lisbeth just looked at Asuna, then looked forward, thinking. Time skip. Next day. Kirito and Asuna's house. Kirito is still sleeping in his bed. Asuna sitting near him and looks at his sleeping face. After a while, Kirito wakes up and rubs his eyes. Asuna then pester him to go outside and play. Kirito just complained that they had already played the days before. Asuna just puffed her cheeks and said, "Then you don't want to play?" Kirito rubbed his eyes to wash away the sleep, then thought for a while and said, "Oh, I know a place that would be fun." Scene change. On the way to the forest. Kirito and Asuna walked into the forest holding each other hands. Asuna looked at Kirito and asked, "So where are we going?" Kirito just walked ahead leading her and said mysteriously, "You'll find out when we get there." Asuna just looked at him curiously, then she had an idea. "Hey, carry me on your shoulders." Kirito looked her weirdly and asked, "Carry? Aren't you a little old for that?" Asuna just smiled and said, "My ages didn't mean anything. Just carry me, I am tired of watching the same views again." Kirito just sighed, then sat down for her to climb on his shoulder. Asuna raised her skirt a little, then said threateningly, "If you looked behind, I'll slap you." "That doesn't sound fair at all," complained Kirito, then rolled his eyes. When Asuna has sat on his shoulder, Kirito began to stand up and walked forward. In the forest, Kirito still carrying Asuna on his shoulder and began to tell her the rumor that he heard. "Yesterday, I heard the rumor in the village. Deep inside this forest, there is a ghosts. The rumor said that the monsters that were killed in the field have taken the form of ghosts. About a week ago, a woodcrafter came to find wood. He was focusing on gathering the wood as night fell. Then he caught something white beneath the tree. Asuna, hearing that, felt a shiver down her spine. Suddenly, Asuna looked to the right and saw a white shadow walked ahead. As Kirito still retelling his story, Asuna decided to interrupt him and told him to look at the direction that she pointed out. Then she climbed out of Kirito's shoulder hurriedly and pointed to the direction of the supposed ghost. Asuna decided to hide behind Kirito's back and turned on her scan skill. The scan showed the image of a little girl in white dress standing there. Asuna looked at the girl in fright as the girl slowly turned her head to her direction. Asuna screamed out and sat down holding her head. Suddenly, the girl began to fall down to the ground. Kirito realized she wasn't a ghost and rushed in. Asuna decided to follow him. When Kirito approached her, he saw that there wasn't a cursor, means she wasn't a player. They decided that they couldn't leave her in the forest, so they brought her with them back to their house. Kirito and Asuna's house. Hearing that Kirito and Asuna have found a little girl in the forest, Naruto and Lisbeth decided to check out. Right now they and Kirito with Asuna are watching the girl lying unconscious on the bed. So you state that this girl isn't a player? Asked Naruto, cross his hands and looks at the girl. No, but she isn't NPC neither, as we managed to bring her here, answered Kirito. Naruto thought for a while and then looked to Kirito. If she was not a player and not NPC, then she could only be AI in this game. Everyone looked at Naruto surprised, then Asuna decided to ask. Why do you think she isn't a player? It could be a bug. And why do you think that she is AI? It's simple. The girl her age would never interested in the sword fighting MMO like SAO. She'd rather play some games that resolve in fairy tale or something. Also, we talking about the game that was created by Kayaba Akihiko, there is now he will allow a bug to happen. Kirito thought about what Naruto just said and found it logically fit. Asuna then looked at the sleeping girl and asked. She'll wake up, right? Yeah, she is just sleeping, I think, said Naruto, embraced Liz to her waist from behind. Morning. Next day, when Asuna woke up to check up on the girl, she saw that the girl has opened her eyes. So she hurriedly shook Kirito to wake him up. Then she turned to the girl and asked. It's such a relief that you have woke up. Do you remember what happened in the forest? The girl just shook her head. Can you at least tell us your name? Do you remember it? Asked Asuna. The girl just looked down and tried to recall her name. Name. My name. Yui. That's my name. Then the door opened to show Naruto and Lisbeth have came in. Naruto looked at the girl and saw that she has woke up. Oh, so you have woke up, huh? Yui just looked at Naruto strangely. Naruto blinked and didn't understand why she stated him like that. Asuna looked at Yui and said. Yui-chan, huh? I am Asuna. The person next to me is Kirito. The one that's standing at the door and blinking is Naruto. The girl standing behind him is Lisbeth, but you can call her Liz for short. Asuna introduced the rest of the group to Yui. Yui tried to pronounce each name, but getting all wrong. Then Asuna asked. Yui-chan, what were you doing in the forest? Yui just shook her head and answers. I don't know. I don't know anything. Asuna just looked down sadly. That's awful. Then Kirito came near her and tried to tell her to pronounce his name once again. Maybe that was a little hard for you. Then what would you like to call me? Yui narrowed her brows in thought, then looked at Kirito and said. Papa. Kirito heard that surprised. Me. Then Yui turned to Asuna and said. Orna is Mama. Asuna hearing that also surprised a little, then she smiled softly. That's right. I am your Mama, Yui-chan. When Naruto and Lisbeth came near the bed, Yui turned to Naruto and said. Naruto is uncle. And Liz is auntie. Naruto smiled softly at Yui and rubbed her head. While Liz smiled softly at the scene. That's right. Kirito is your papa, Asuna is your mama. Me and Liz are your uncle and auntie. We will be a family from now on, said Naruto grinning. Yui also closed her eyes and smiled. They spent some time playing and eating with Yui smiling and laughing happily together. Then Naruto stood up and breathing deeply. Lisbeth seeing that decided to ask. Do you have some business, Naruto-kun? Naruto walked out to the door and looked through his shoulder and answered. Yeah, I have some business need to take care. You guys just stay here and spend more time with Yui-chan. Kirito and Asuna, I congratulate you on founding such a cute daughter. Yui-chan, the time we spend with each other may be short, but you make me feel like a real uncle. I am never going to forget these happy days. Never going to forget that I have such wonderful friends. Kirito and Asuna just looked at Naruto strangely. The way Naruto said, it's like he will leave them far behind. Lisbeth just looked at Naruto with worried eyes. Then Yui decided to ask, "Will I see you again, uncle?" Naruto turned to Yui and grinned foxily. "Of course, you will. Why suddenly you asked such a strange question?" Yui looked at Naruto and answered, "The way you talked. It's like you decided to leave Mama, Papa, Auntie and Yui far behind." Naruto just smiled solemnly and turned to leave. Floor 74. At night. City. Naruto is in a bench near the fountain waiting for someone. After a while, there is a person sit down on a bench next to him. That is Argo the rat, the most powerful information gather. "Yo, Naruto. Long time no see." Naruto turned to Argo and greeted him too. "Same to you, Argo. So did you find what I need?" "Yeah. I have found the location of the boss room on this floor." "But did you plan to take him on solo?" "That's suicide, you know." Naruto just smirked and looked at Argo. "That will be my last trial to the final battle." Argo just looked at him strangely and said, "Well, it's your problem now. I just finished my part of the bargain. Now you've finished yours." Naruto opened his inventory and gave Argo his Shibian sword. Argo accepted it and looked at it closely to ascertain that it's the real sword. After inspecting, she nodded, then stood up to leave. Before she left, she turned to Naruto and said, "Don't die just yet, Naruto. You didn't know this, but there are still many people that concerned about you." Naruto raised his thumbs up and said, "Yeah, I will defeat the boss and return." When Argo had left, Naruto turned his gaze at the moon and see that it was full moon today. "It's full moon today. I wonder, will this be the last time that I see it?" Next day. Floor 75. Boss room. Naruto had arrived very early in the morning. He is standing at the huge door of the boss room now. According to the information gathered by Argo, the boss of this floor called the Skull Reaper. And it is one of the most lethal boss of Sao so far. There had been one attempted to clear this floor, but no one even survived from that time. Also, its strike is instant kill if hit to the torso or legs. Not only that, but it had 5 HP bar. Though its speed is impressive, it was nowhere near the level of Kojiro. Naruto opened his inventory and wore the necklace with the crystal of Tesseract to his neck. The crystal of Tesseract, that is a crystal that has the ability to turn the strikes into critical in the interval of 5 minutes. Naruto opened the door and went in, but there was nothing there. He began to look around, then stopped moving as he heard a noise above him. He looked up and saw the Skull Reaper has showed its appearance. Its appearance is that of a huge skull centipede, and it has 2 scythe-like arms, which is lethal if hit to the target. It began to look down to Naruto with his 4 red eyes and began to descend to the ground. Naruto unsheathed his Kusanagi, looked at it intently, and began to tap his foot to the ground. When the Skull Reaper decided to charge in, Naruto activated Shukuchi and moved with blurred speed, that crashing the ground behind it, and activate Usozen to slash it. It began to roar in pain and quickly turned backwards, but Naruto already jumps in the air. As it prepared to finish Naruto with the scythe arm, Naruto began to spin rapidly and slashed at the same time, activating Ryukansen, Arashi. But still the second scythe strike still managed to hit Naruto's arm. Naruto gritted his teeth in pain and jumped far back. The Skull Reaper just roared at him and began to charge quickly. It still had 3 bars of HP left. Naruto gripped his arm and glared at the Skull Reaper murderously. "It's not over yet. If I couldn't defeat this centipede moron, then I won't stand even a slight chance at defeating him," muttered Naruto. Then his eyes began to turn so cold and with such killing intent that the boss backed out a little. "Here we go." With that, Naruto activated Shukuchi again and appeared behind it and used Umizen to stun it. Then he used all of his moves with the combination of the crystal of Tesseract. The boss just roared in pain, took in all the strike. Then only 1 bar left. Naruto's body by that time was already going numb. Naruto just looked at his trembled hand and muttered, "Is this my limit? If this is all I can do, then the chance to defeat him is practically 0. No, I will break my limit and end this game once and for all." With that said, Naruto's eyes began to burn with determination again. He roared loudly and charged at Skull Reaper. Skull Reaper also roared at him and used its skill to double strike Naruto with its arms. Naruto continued to charge and ducked his head, but the attack still managed to scratch his cheek. Naruto's widen in fury and he roared like an animal and strike the skull reaper to its jaw with such force that sent flying to the ceiling. Then Naruto activated Shukuchi and appeared near the boss to stab in its forehead. Then he slashed down from the head to the rest of its body while roaring in fury. The boss bar had dropped to 0. Then Naruto began to fall out from the ceiling and muttered, I've done it. The Skull Reaper was defeated. I will sleep a little then meet up with him to finish all of this. With that said, Naruto fell asleep from exhaustion. Not noticing some scouting players have opened the door of the boss room and seeing him lying on the ground. Floor 1. Town of Beginnings. Asuna and Kirito decided to return to the Town of Beginnings, because he and Asuna just received the message from Heathcliff that they will need to return to the front line soon. They couldn't take Yui with them as it will be dangerous, and Lisbeth has returned to her work. They walked to the central market for a while. Then they suddenly heard a scream. Give back the children. To find out what is happening here, Asuna and Kirito decided to head to the direction of a scream. When they arrived there, they saw the army was bullying a group of children and a caretaker was demanding for them to return the children back. The assholes from the army was demanding the children to pay taxes. Kirito and Asuna had seen enough and decided to act. They jumped in front the children and confronted the army. Asuna turned to the children to reassure them that everything will be okay now. The army saw the two new people that intervened and decided to teach them a lesson. But Asuna had enough and told Kirito that she will took care of them. Then she approached the arrogant commander and used the linear to blast him to the back. The down commander demanded for the rest of the army to do something. But they just looked away fearfully and ran away like cowards they were. Then Yui on Kirito's back began to mumble. I do not belong here. I was in a dark place. Then she widened her eyes and screamed and black out on Kirito's back. Kirito and Asuna looked at her with wide eyes. Asuna rushed to Yui's side. The caretaker seeing that said, they could bring Yui to her place. Caretaker church. There were many children say on the table and eating, laughing and teasing each other. Kirito just looked around in wonder. Then the caretaker said that it was always this lively every day. Then she asked, did that ever happen to her before? Asuna just shook her head and answered, we found her on the 22th floor in the forest. And it seems she had lost her memories. Could we let her stay here for a while? 'Cause we will return to the front line, and we couldn't leave her alone. Could you take care of her? Yes, you can leave her here until your business is over. I will take good care of her. Then they heard a knock and went to open the door. There was a woman with gray hair stood at the door. My name is Yulia, said the woman and bowed down. Aren't you with the army? Are you here to complain about yesterday? Asked Asuna looked at her uniform. Not at all. It's vice versa. Honestly, I want thank you too, replied Yulia. Kirito and Asuna just looked at each other surprised. Yulia then looked at the both of them and said, I've come with a request for you two today. A request? Asked Asuna. Then they invited her inside to talk. Inside the church. Yulia told them that the army was never like this before. Their leader Thinker was never a greedy tyrant. But because of the faction made by Kabao, the army became corrupted. Because Kabao sent all the high-level players to the front line and all of them had died because of his mistake. Thinker decided to dismiss him from the guild. Kabao was scared and trapped, so he decided to trap Thinker. Thinker has been trapped deep in the dungeon, unarmed and without teleport crystal. So she begged him to go to the dungeon, and brought her husband back. She couldn't go there as her level wasn't high enough. Asuna said, that they will gladly help her if she could verifying what she said was the truth. Yui looked at the bowing head of Yulia and said, she is telling the truth, mama. I don't know how but I know she telling the truth. Then they agreed to help Yulia. Yulia looked up at them then bowed down in grateful. Then Kirito told Yui to stay here. But Yui won't accept that and demand to go with them. Asuna tried to talk her out but she didn't listen and just grab at Kirito's arm and demand to go. Floor 55. Granzam. When Naruto woke up, he immediately went to floor 55. Naruto stood at the gate of the castle and told the guard standing there to send a message to the commander that he want to meet him. After a while, the guard received the order to bring him in. Inside. Now Naruto is standing before Commander Heathcliff. Heathcliff looked at Naruto for a while and said, I heard that you've managed to defeat the Skull Reaper at floor 75. I want to thank you for that. Thanks to you we've cleared one more dungeon and one step away from clearing this game. Don't I want to join us, Kobo? I appreciate your invitation. But right now I want to speak to you in private. Can we go to the forest to talk? Asked Naruto looking at Heathcliff. Heathcliff looked at Naruto for a while then decided to answer. Okay, let's go then, said Heathcliff stood out of the chair and walked to the door, with Naruto not far behind. Forest. When Naruto and Heathcliff arrived at the place, Heathcliff decided to ask. So what did you want to talk? But Naruto interrupted him by unsheathing his Kusanagi and stabbed at Heathcliff. But he couldn't as a purple crystal stopped his blade. Then a panel appeared above Heathcliff which said, a mortal object. Heathcliff looked surprised at the attack then turned to Naruto and said. So you've noticed after all. But I always think that Kirito will be the one that discovered this earlier. Today, I will end this game of yours. Kayaba Akihiko. Said Naruto glared at Kayaba. Oh, you know I am the last boss which you can only meet in the 100th floor. My strength is on the whole other level than the other boss. You've managed to defeat me before. But that's as a player, as a boss I am 10 times stronger than that. You think that you've managed to defeat that Skull Reaper and you will have a slight chance at defeating me. You are deadly wrong, Naruto-kun. Because you have discovered my identity, I must dispose of you now. Then Kayaba turned himself mortal. But his life bar has added 9 bars more. Naruto looked in shocked and stuttered. T10 bars of life. You see, Naruto-kun. You don't even have a slight chance against me. Just die quietly. Naruto roared in rage and rushed forward. Kayaba with the new strength of the last boss just sidestepped him easily and kicked Naruto to the stomach sent him flying and destroyed 5 trees. Naruto lied on the ground with wide eyes in disbelief at the power and coughed loudly. Kayaba just approached Naruto slowly like a predator stalking a prey. Naruto's whole body shook in fear. Naruto tried to calm himself and activated Shukuchi to appear at the right side of Kayaba. But Kayaba just raised his shield and stabbed Naruto in the stomach with his sword. Naruto was sent flying again. How could this be even possible? There was never a boss like this. I am not even able to injure him at all, muttered Naruto in shock. You see Naruto-kun. You are no match for me. I don't even need to use skill. Just stop resisting and die quietly, said Kayaba looked down at Naruto like he was an ant. Naruto shook his head and glared at Kayaba. Even if I die I will take you with me. For the sake of my friends and over 2,000 of remain players of SAO. I am touched at your feelings. But that's impossible. I am the creator of this world means there is no opponent for me. I admit that you are the best player at this game, but I am the creator of this game, the ruler of this world. You are nothing compared to me now, said Kayaba calmly and looked down at Naruto. Naruto grit his teeth then stand in normal kendo stance. Kayaba cocked his head aside and looked amused. Ho, you decide to use Kujoyusen now. But that will still be useless. Naruto didn't listen to him and performed the technique. When the 9th strike was about to hit him, Kayaba appeared behind Naruto and stabbed him through his stomach with his sword. It's over Naruto-kun. You've lost. Farewell now. Naruto widened his eyes at the sword that stabbed through his stomach. Then his body suddenly slowly began to disappear. Kayaba just pulled out his sword from Naruto's stomach and began to walk away. Naruto looked at his nearly disappearing hand and began to think about Kirito, Asuna, Moonlit Black Cat's Guild, Agel, Klein, Yui, Argo, Silica. His hair began to shadow his eyes and he mumbled. Not yet. I will not disappear now. I still have the strength to fight. Then he activated Shukuchi and charged at Kayaba. Kayaba looked behind him surprised. Naruto using Shukuchi began to move in circle at blurred speed. Kayaba just glanced around to keep up with Naruto. Suddenly, Naruto appeared before Kayaba. He drew his sword from the sheath and created a twinkle star. Then he swung the sword at Kayaba with powerful force that tear away his cloak. Kayaba managed to somehow block the strike. But the force of the draw from the sheath is so powerful that it's create the air vacuum and begin to suck him in. At that moment, Naruto spin and prepare the second swing with even more power from the vacuum. Hiten Mitsurugi Ugi, Amakakeru Ru no Hirameki. Even if you avoid the fang of the flying dragon, the gusting winds will strip away your freedom of movement and the claws would rip you apart, said Naruto panting heavily topless on his nest. Kiyaba's eyes was widen in shock and his body was cut in half diagonally. Kiyaba looked at his body and stuttered in shock and disbelief. How can even be possible? You should have disappeared already. Naruto looked at Kiyaba seriously and said while panting. My will to protect my friends is far stronger than the fear of dying, that is why I can still remain here. But not for long. You and I will disappear from this world, Kiyaba Akihiko. Then Naruto and Kiyaba's body began to shatter to blue polygon. The only thing left from Naruto was his Kusanagi blade, that was laid on the ground. The same time, when Naruto fight Kiyaba. Floor 1. Town of Beginnings. Black Iron Castle. Yulia, Kirito, Asuna and Yui had been walking in the castle for a while to find the entrance to the dungeon. After a while of walking, Yulia stopped at the entrance and said, "This is the entrance to dungeon." Kirito and Asuna just looked at the entrance and nodded their head. Then they went in. Some monsters frogs with 4 eyes had appeared, but Kirito and Asuna quickly got rid of them. Time skip. Dungeon. After fighting and walking for some time, they have managed to find the safe zone. Kirito turns on his scan skill, and notice there is one player ahead. Yulia was too happy to meet her husband again and run forward to Thinker. Thinker tried to warn her that there was a trap, but too late. From the black space the scythe appeared and was about to cut Yulia's head off. But Kirito reacted in time and deflect the scythe. Suddenly, the room began to glow bright blue color. Asuna told Yulia to take Yui with her and took her to the safe zone. Yulia nodded her head and went to the place where Thinker was standing. Kirito and Asuna looked at the boss appearance and felt terrified. It was Fatal Scythe, one of the strongest boss in Sao, even stronger than Skull Reaper. Kirito facing the Fatal Scythe and said to Asuna, "Asuna, go to the safe place and use teleport crystal to get out of here. Even don't know what this boss is capable of. He is probably like from floor 90 or above. Quickly, get out of here." "Why you come with me too?" replied Asuna. "I'll catch up. Hurry," said Kirito and looked behind at Asuna. But Asuna looked the 3-person at the safe zone and said, that they use teleport crystal and get Yui out of here. Then she stand in line with Kirito facing the boss. Fatal Scythe eyes glows red and it swung its scrugs caused a powerful wind that blow Asuna and Kirito away easily. And just that swing has caused Asuna and Kirito's HP to drop in half. Just as Fatal Scythe about to finish them both, of Yui decided to confront the boss. She was about to act, but suddenly the boss began to slowly disappearing, then shattered in blue polygon. Then a panel appeared before them. "Game cleared," muttered Kirito reading the panel surprised. Then Yui turned to Kirito and Asuna said something that shocked him to their very core. "Mama, Papa, Uncle Naruto ID has disappeared. He is no longer in this world." Kirito widened his eyes and fell to his knees and mumbled. That's why he began to talk so strangely that day. He knew the real identity of Commander Heathcliff and planned to confront him alone. Asuna looked at Kirito not understand and asked, "What do you mean, Kirito-kun? Who was the commander really?" Kirito turned to Asuna and answered, "Back then when I fought him in a duel, and nearly managed to cut him down, but was stunned for a second. The only one who could do this are the creator of the game." Asuna widened her eyes in realization and stumped. "Why you mean that Commander Heathcliff is Kiyaba Akihiko?" Kirito nodded his head and continued. "Naruto was very keen in observation. That day I believed he has realized this at all. But Naruto didn't want to involve everyone, because he didn't want anybody to die. Cause he knew that as a final boss, Kiyaba is ridiculously powerful and didn't want anyone to do in accident. Also Naruto had never forgave himself for killing the PK players. By confronting Kiyaba, he knew for sure that he'll die but still did that, cause dying is the kind of punishment somewhat to him to clear his sin." Asuna's eyes began to tear up and she covered her mouth. Kirito punched the ground in frustration. Why the heck did he always do things alone? Why did he decided to bear this burden alone silently? He wasn't supposed to die. Yui looked at the ground and said, "Uncle Naruto also saved me in return. If the boss was not disappear back then, I should have acted to protect you both. But doing that will be against the order of Cardinal, means as I would disappear. But Uncle Naruto saved me by defeating the final boss and cleared the whole game." Asuna embraced Kirito tightly and stuttered. Why did he have to die, Kirito-kun? Naruto was such a good person. What are we gonna tell Liz? Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to crumble. The walls began to shake. Kirito, Asuna and Yui immediately teleport to Granzam. Floor 55. Granzam. The panel that said the game was cleared appeared in every floor, every dungeon, every town or city, and the people began to cheer loudly. Kirito and Asuna looked at the people cheering and smiled solemnly. They didn't even know that the man that they fear the most is the one that saved them all, said Kirito looked around. Then Kirito, Asuna and Yui went to the direction of the forest and seeing there is a sword lying on the ground. Kirito immediately recognized it and closed his eyes in grief. The Kusanagi is here. Then it's confirmed all. Naruto was fighting here with Kayaba. And they both died here. They just looked at the sword silently. Then Kirito decided to put the sword in his inventory. After that they decide to return to floor 22 to check up on Liz. Floor 22. Naruto and Liz house. When Kirito and Asuna went in, they saw Liz lied in the bed and cried her eyes out. Asuna immediately rushed to her and hugged her tightly. Liz stuttered. Why he has to die? He promised me that we will become a real couple. He is a liar. Asuna just tried to comfort Liz as much as she can. Kirito walked of the house and looked at the sky, muttered. Wherever you are, Naruto. I hope you are happy now. Unknown place. Naruto opened his eyes and saw he was standing in the middle of the sky. He looked around and wondered what happened. Weird. I thought I died back then, muttered Naruto, scratched the back of his head. Then he walked ahead and looked down below him, seeing Aincrad is falling apart. Quiet of you, don't you think? Said a voice behind Naruto. Naruto turned to the voice and saw Kayaba Akihiko standing before him. Kayaba Akihiko. Congratulations on clearing the game, Naruto-kun. Said Kayaba looking at Naruto. Why did you make a death game? Asked Naruto, gripping his fist. Why? I don't even remember why now. At first I just wanted to create a world fat surpass the real world. To create a world that what you can't accomplished in real TT, you could accomplished here. I thought that everything in this world was worked under my laws here. Now I meet a person that transcend my laws, transcend even death itself. I am very impressed, Naruto-kun. What will happen to the remain players? Asked Naruto, narrowed his eyes. They've all logged out. All over 6,000 players have logged out. You are a hero to them, Naruto-kun, said Kayaba, checked the data in his menu. Hero. No. A hero never killed in cold blood. A hero never enjoyed killing the others. I am no hero. I just wanted to save my friends from this nightmare. That's all. Naruto then turned to Kayaba and asked. What will happen to me now? I basically died already. As a gift on defeating me, I will transfer you conscious to a different game. In this world, you can't regain your consciousness as you've died, but in other game you will be able to logged out. But doing so will cause you to lost all of your memories here. Though I have an idea to save your memories, said Kayaba looking at Naruto. What do you have in mind? Asked Naruto. I want to entrust this to you. I will seal all your memories there. When the time come you will use this and your memories will return back to you, said Kayaba and present Naruto the glowing seed. Naruto accepted it and looked closely. Kayaba then turned back to leave and waving his hand. I will be leaving now. It was a pleasure meeting you, Naruto-kun. With that he disappeared. Naruto looked at the glowing seed in his hand, then looked at rising sun. What an incredible view. Then the light began to cover all the place and Naruto disappeared with the light. 2 months after Sao. Naruto Uzumaki has cleared Sao and became a hero in the heart of all the players that was trapped in Sao. Even though Sao was cleared, for some reason Asuna and the other 300 players still haven't regained their consciousness. During the past 2 months, Kirito tried his hardest to find whereabouts of Asuna and Naruto. And he managed to found the hospital where both Naruto and Asuna were located. Kirito still shocked at the news that the Navagear didn't fried Naruto's brain and killed him. He suspected that it has to do with Naruto's devil luck. Also he found out that Naruto was an orphan and his caretaker always traveled the world. So he didn't have much visitor except him and Rika, which is Lisbeth in Sao. After hearing that Naruto was still alive, she was so glad but sad at the same time as Naruto didn't wake up. So Rika visited him every day and hoped that he will wake up soon. Kirigaya's household, Kirigaya Shuguha was practicing her kendo as usual. Suddenly, she heard behind her and turned behind in surprise. Oni-chan. Good morning, Shugu, said Kazuto sitting at the floor and greet her. Shuguha just sighed and said. If you were gonna watch at least said something. Don't do something like that, it's freak me out. Sorry, it's just you concentrate too hard, apologized Kazuto. Shuguha decided to take a rest and sat down near him. Kazuto raised the kendo sword and felt it was too light. Kazuto drank a bottle of water, then turned to Shuguha and asked, "Hey, do you want a spar? It's been a while after all. Ho, you was absent for 2 years and still challenges me for a spar. You know I am one of best 8 in middle school. When we go at it, you will understand," said Kazuto and stood up, walked to the dojo in the house. Shuguha just looked at him strangely. Dojo. Shuguha and Kazuto kneeling in front of each other, then they bow to each other and stand up. Shuguha stands in normal kendo stance, while Kazuto takes a stance from Sao. Shuguha just looked at the stance surprised and wondered why he took such a stance, as it was full of holes in defense. Kazuto decided to charge first and strike at Shuguha's face. But Shuguha managed to deflect it. Shuguha charged at Kazuto and began to stab him with the end of her kendo sword. Kazuto jumped back at a certain distance and waited for Shuguha to move. Shuguha decided to charge with more speed at Kazuto. Suddenly, there was an image of Naruto performed Ryukansen in his mind. When Shuguha was about to strike Kazuto, he sidestepped a bit and began to spin. Then he strikes Shuguha at the waist. Shuguha not expected Kazuto to move like that, widened her eyes and kneeled down. Kazuto, seeing that, immediately went to her side to check her out. "Are you okay, Shugu? It was too strong, right?" Shuguha looked at Kazuto for a while and shook her head. "I am fine. But what was that move, Oni-chan? I've never seen anything like that." Kazuto just looked at the ground and smiled sadly. "That was one of my friend's move. Though he is in the hospital right now." Shuguha just looked at him in sympathy. Kirito then turned to Shuguha and said, "When he woke up, I'd like to see you and him spar, as he was the best in Sao." "Ho. Then I will also waiting for that day to face the user of that move you use," said Shuguha, interested at the saying. Then she turned to Kazuto and asked, "Do you have any plans for today?" Kazuto looked at the ground solemnly and answered, "I am going to the hospital." Shuguha, hearing that, just turned her eyes away from him. "I see. You going to see her, aren't you? Asuna-san, wasn't it? Not just her, I will visit him as well. The person that saved my life twice. My best friend. It's the least I can do for them," said Kazuto, still looked down solemnly. Asuna's hospital room. Kazuto opened the door to Asuna's hospital room and walked in. He moved the curtain away to look at Asuna's unconscious figure that was still wearing the Navy. Then she came near her and held her hand. "Asuna," muttered Kazuto, sadly looking at her. Suddenly, he heard the footsteps, which he turned and saw Asuna's father came in holding flowers. "Hello, sir," said Kazuto, turned to Mr. Yuki and bowed. "Sorry, I didn't know you were here." "Thank you for coming," said Mr. Yuki. "I hope it's okay that I am here," asked Kazuto. "Please, you can visit whenever you like. I know it's make her happy," Mr. Yuki said while laying flowers next to her bed. Then someone entered the room and Kazuto turned to the person. "Sir," said the person that came in. "Oh, I didn't think that the two of you have met. This is Shugu, he is our company's director of R&D, Mr. Yuki said. "I am Nobuyuki Shugu. It's a pleasure," Shugu introduced himself. "I am Kirigaya Kazuto," said, hearing that, widen his eyes in surprise, then shakes the hand of Kazuto. "You together with Asuna and Naruto-san are the heroes, it's an honor," said Shugu. "I'm sorry we're not supposed to talk about what happened in Sao, but he's my partner's son, so he is fine, and I always thought of him as part of my family," Mr. Yuki said. Shugu decided to speak that moment. "Speaking of the family, I'd like to make that official as soon as possible, sir," said Shugu, surprising Mr. Yuki. "That's sudden. Are you sure that is what you want? I mean, you are still young and have a whole life ahead of you," asked Mr. Yuki, confusing Kazuto. "Thank you for your concern, but my heart is set on it. It sounds strange, but even though she's like this age is still beautiful. I'd like to see her in that wedding dress," said Shugu, caused Kazuto's eyes to widen. "You have a point. The sooner we prepare ourselves the better. Sorry to cut this conversation short, but I have a meeting to get to. We can talk more about this later. Kazuto, take care. Also, don't worry about the payment for the hospital for Naruto-san. He is a hero. It's the least I can do for him," said Mr. Yuki and turned to leave. Shugu then walked to Asuna's side and sat on her bed. I heard you and Asuna were lovers in the game, is that true? Said Shugu looked at Kazuto. Kazuto just nodded his head. That is unfortunate, it's going to make things complicated between you and I, said Shugu, then holds and smells Asuna's hair cause Kazuto narrows his eyes in anger. In case you were curious, her father and I were discussing her marriage, to me, Shugu says and smiles darkly and licks his lips caused Kazuto to grip his fist and widen his eyes in anger. No way, you can't do that, said Kazuto angrily. You have a point. It's true that we can't legally marry, but if the Yuki family adopts me, it'll be as if we are on like we are married, Shugu says and touches her cheek. The truth is she always hated me since we were kids, though neither her or my parents know that. If I proposed and she could speak, I am pretty sure she'll decline. So this situation is very favorable for me, Shugu says and proceeds to touch her lips. Stop it. Who do you think you are? You can't take advantage of Asuna like that, said Kazuto angrily and grabbed Shugu's hand. Shugu free his hand from the hold and smiles. Take advantage. Oh please, if anything I have the right to her. Perhaps I should explain why. Any idea what happened to Argus, the company that developed SAO? They closed it down since the lawsuits and damages took a toll on it, so the company went into bankruptcy, answered Kazuto. Correct, but the maintenance of SAO servers were given to the other company. The company, where Asuna's father is a CEO, Recto Progress, Shugu said, shocking Kazuto. And I work for the company's full dive technology. In other words, I am the one that keeping Asuna alive. But that's not all. Ever wondered why Naruto-san, after managed to stay alive, still didn't wake up yet? Said Shugu and smiled darkly. Kazuto's eyes widen and he stuttered. Why, you are the reason that he didn't wake up. But why? Naruto is a hero for the survivors of SAO, did he not? Shugu adjusted his glasses and said. That's true, I don't have anything against Naruto-san. But some people have paid me enough to not let him out to the reality. No, go away. I don't want to see you near Asuna ever again, said Shugu and pointing his finger to the door. Kazuto just walked out feeling helpless at the situation. At night, Naruto's hospital room. Kazuto looked at Naruto's unconscious form sadly. He went near the bed and began to speak. It's been a while since I visit you, Naruto. I am forever grateful for what you did for me and the others. I am helpless now. Some four-eyes freak took advantage of Asuna when she is unconscious and I couldn't do anything as that freak is the one that keeping Asuna alive. What will you do in my place, Naruto? You are always the one with strong heart and could face anything. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't want to lose her, Naruto. But that freak is the reason that you still didn't wake up. If only you were still here with me, we could think of something. So how sharing my sadness with you have make me feel better. I'll be going now. With that, Kazuto went to the door and turned to look at Naruto one last time. He sighed and walked out of the room. Kazuto's room. Kazuto just sitting in his bed, cross his hands to cover the face. Suddenly, there is a message appear on his screen. He opened it and looked at the picture. On the picture was an elf that looked exactly like Asuna. Kazuto widened his eyes at that and looked at the sender. Next day, Dicey Cafe. After Kazuto found out the name of the sender, he immediately went there to find out more. Dicey Cafe is a place where Agil currently working. Kazuto went in and said, Yo, why this place is always so empty? Is only I the one that come here? Shut up. It's busy at night, said Agil cleaning the glass. Kazuto sat down then turned to Agil and asked, what was that picture you sent? It's a bit of a long story. Ever heard of this? Said Agil and brought out a game then slid it to Kazuto. Kazuto looked at the game. A game. This is a game for Amusphere, a successor to Navagear, said Agil. So this is another VR MMO just like SAO? Asked Kazuto. Alfheim Online. More like Alfheim Online. It means, land of fairies, said Agil. Fairies, muttered Kazuto and looked at the picture on the game. In this game you can freely PK as much as you want. Also there is no levels here. The skills are the key there. The more skills you have the more powerful you are. Combat abilities depends on player's athletic ability, explained Agil. Hardcore, muttered Kazuto. Like SAO with magic, but no sword skills. It's really popular now, continued Agil crossing his hands. The reason is because you could fly there. Fly? Asked Kazuto surprised. Yeah, it's the land of fairies after all. So what this have to do with Asuna? Asked Kazuto. Agil brought the picture out and showed it to Kazuto. So what do you think? Asked Agil. Kazuto looked at the picture and looked at the fairy in the picture intently. It looks like Asuna. I thought you'd said that. Just told me already. Where is this place? Asked Kazuto impatiently. Inside the game, Alfheim Online. In a place called World Tree. The players all divided in 9 races. And all their target is to reach the top of the World Tree, said Agil point at the map behind the game. Can't they just flew up there? Asked Kazuto. It's not that simple. There is a limit how long you can fly. And so 5 players lined up, bigger ones at the bottom and flew up like a rocket. Kazuto thinks for a while and smirk. Not bad. It's a dumb idea but could worked up. But even then they couldn't reach even the lowest branch of the tree. Though they still managed to take a few pictures. On one of the picture where they took, there was a huge birdcage. And in that birdcage is this, said Agil and point at the fairy on the picture. But why would Asuna in a place like this? Kazuto asked himself, then noticed the logo of RCT Progress at the back of the game. Then he recalled the meeting with Shugu. If RCT Progress is involved here, there is a chance that Naruto is there as well, said Kazuto looked down in thought. Naruto. Why do you think that? Asked Agil surprised. Some people have something against Naruto, and paid a huge amount of money just to trap him there, answered Kazuto. Agil, can I take this? Asked Kazuto. I don't mind. But are you going there? Asked Agil looking at Kazuto, as he prepared to leave. I need to see it for myself. A game where you can die is too easy, said Kazuto and smirks. It work with Navigear as well. Amusphere is just a slight upgrade of Navigear after all, said Agil. Then it's alright, said Kazuto. Go save our lonely hero and your princess. Otherwise our fight can't really end, said Agil and raised his fist for Kazuto to bump. Yeah, we will all gathered here someday, said Kazuto and bumped fist with Agil. Kazuto's room. Kazuto wore the Navigear on his head and switched the device on. Link start. With that his conciseness transferred to the virtual world. Then he appeared in the space, where you began to create your character. After entered his name and gender. 9 races has appeared before him. He looked at each race and decided to choose the Spriggan, as it resembled his past character. With that the system announced that he will be transferred to the Spriggan territory now. Then he was transferred to the middle of the sky and fell down to the Spriggan territory. As he was falling down, unknown to him, there was a black cloth figure in fox mask opened his palm and began to chant the incantation and a black hole appeared under Kirito. Kirito fell down through the black hole and was transported to the forest. Alfheim Ancient Forest. Neutral territory. Kirito after being transferred to the forest mystically just lied in the grass and looked at the sky. I'm back. After everything that happened, then he jumped up and looked around. So where am I now? Then he used his right hand to open menu, but nothing happened. So he decided to use the left hand and a menu appeared. He decided to check if the logout button was really here. After he confirmed that it was there, he sighed in relief. Then he opened his stats and surprised as the stats were the same as in SAO. After that he decided to check his inventory. He searched for a while and found 2 items that did not have the. He presses at one of them and the Kusanagi sword appeared. Kirito held it and sighed in relief. Thanks God it's still here. Then he pressed at the second item and Yui appeared before him. Kirito looked at her in wonder. Then Yui decided to open her eyes. It's me Yui. Do you remember me? Asked Kirito. Yui looked at him with teary eyes and embraced him. I finally can see you again, Papa. Sometime later. So what is going on here? We aren't inside SAO, but my stats are still the same, asked Kirito while Yui sitting on his lap. Wait a minute. This world is a copy of SAO servers. The engine, programming, and graphics format are identical. Though the version of Cardinal is a little outdated, said Yui and contact the Cardinal. So, that means that RCT Progress take over the technology of Argus and using them now. Though that didn't explain my personal data, said Kirito. Maybe your character from SAO was convert to this game, so aside from unique skills and items, your personal data remain the same, said Yui. How is the system treating you as Yui? Asked Kirito. Let's see. I'm classified as player support artificial program, a navigation pixie, after saying that Yui began to glow and transform to a mini pixie. Kirito just looked in wonder. Then he looked down sadly and said, There is a chance that your mama and uncle are here. Mama and uncle. Why is that? After Naruto cleared the game. For some unknown reason Asuna and 300 players still haven't regained their consciousness yet. Naruto though escaped death but was trapped here by the bad people outside. I heard that there was a person that looked exactly like Asuna and logged on to confirm the fact. So that's what happened, said Yui. I know a place where to find Asuna. With Naruto, I have no ideas. Asuna is in a place called World Tree, said Kirito looking at the huge tree ahead of him. Then he remembered something. Oh, and why I suddenly appeared in this forest. I supposed to land to my home place. I don't know. Maybe someone use a transportation magic to transfer you here, answered Yui and thought for a minute. Someone. I don't know anyone here. I wished I landed as near to the World Tree as possible, said Kirito and stood up. Then wings began to appear behind his back. So how do I fly? There is an assist controller. Raise your left hand as if you were grabbing something. Kirito did as he was told. Pull towards yourself to elevate. Push to descent. Left or right to turn, Yui instruct Kirito. Kirito did just that and he began to elevate. Hold tight to accelerate. Release to decelerate. Kirito tried some maneuver movements. Then Kirito asked Yui where is the nearest town. Yui said that the nearest town is the west from here to the Sylph territory. Suddenly, Yui detected something. What's wrong? There are players nearby. In the sky. 2 Sylph was flying at the middle of the sky. One was a female blonde with green hair. The other, far behind, was a male with a bowl haircut and green hair. Wait a minute, Leafa-chan. Whined the male Sylph. Just hang on Recon. If we can escape to Sylph territory. Said Leafa. Recon. Dodge. Warned Leafa, as she saw a blast of fire came from beneath them. Beneath them was 5 salamanders chasing them. Leafa seeing they can't escape decide to engage the enemy. Recon tried to talk her out, but she didn't listen. Leafa charges forward and strikes at one of them sending him to the ground. Then she flies ahead to slash at the other. But the salamander manages to dodge. Leafa charges again stabs one of them to the stomach. The stabs penetrated his stomach and killed him. One charge at Recon to kill him. Recon tried to defend himself as much as he can. Then a blast of fire come from beneath and nearly hit Recon. Though Recon manages to dodge. The salamander from before managed to sneak to him and kills him. But Recon still manages to strike him back, both died. Then the huge blast of fire heads to Leafa. Leafa was about to get hit but, a black hole appeared sucked all the fire into it. Leafa turned to look at the saver that hovering above her. He was an imp, in black cloak with a fur collar. On his face is a fox mask with 3 eyes. Leafa looked on in shock recognized the person. Fox of Darkness, Yamajitsun. Muttered Leafa in disbelief. I was hired to protect this lady by the higher-up of the Sylph. If you all don't want to end up all dead, I suggest you all get out of here. Said the masked imp. Ha, you are alone now. Even if you are the infamous Yamajitsun, you outnumbered now. Said Kijmune arrogantly. Fools. Never say that I am outnumbered, said the masked imp and began to chant incantation. Kuman Sawaka. Say, Byaku, Shu, General, Ku, Nan, Hoku, San, Gyoku. Kumanju. With that from a symbol that looked like the symbol on his back 9 figures appeared from it. All wearing the fox mask. The salamanders seeing that all decide to retreat, as now they were outnumbered. Thank you for saving me, said Leafa and bowed down. I am just doing my job. Sakuya-sama has hired me to protect you, said the masked imp. On the ground. Kirito and Yui have just arrived then they looked at the sky to see one black figure manage to chase away all the salamanders. Yui looked at the cloaked figure and her eyes began to tear up. What's wrong Yui? That person. That person has ID of Uncle Naruto. Kirito widened his eyes and flew up to the said person. Naruto. Is that you? Asked Kirito looked at the person in hope. Naruto. Excuse me. But my name is Menma. I must be mistaken me with someone else, answered the masked person. Kirito widened his eyes and turned to Yui. Yui. Check his ID once again. Yui performed the check and the result is the same. There is no mistake there. It's Uncle's ID, then why did he deny this fact? Muttered Kirito looked at the cloaked person and narrowed his eyes. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.